Hi, Tater. We're going to talk about this propane oven today. If you're used to using gas flame to cook with, propane stovetop is pretty easy. What kills people is this oven. I'm going to show you what my setup is. This is a Suburban. The inside of it, one thing you're going to want to get is a thermometer. And this one I just bent the top over and I just hang it here, and then that way it's always front and center and I can see it. I tried just hanging it the way it's intended to hang, but with it being in a camper it jumped around all the place. I could never find it, so I just bent it so that it stays put when we travel. The other thing you're going to want to do is get something like that. I got this at Walmart. It's a double-sided, flat top for pancakes, or you can flip it over and use it to grill meat. But I think it's a Red Copper brand. What I like about this versus a pizza stone is that the pizza stone has a tendency to break if you're going over bumpy roads and stuff. So I also like the shape of this one. Pizza stones typically are either round or rectangular. They're not square. The reason why I like the square is because this piece in here is square, and the circles that go around it for heat distribution is square. So this fits right in the middle. There's plenty of space for the air to circulate around the food that I'm cooking. Now, one difference between a propane stove and a regular stove that you have at home is that the heating element is down here. So the reason why everybody tells you to get something like this is to kind of perform a protective layer between the bottom of your food and the heat source. Otherwise you burn your stuff. The other thing you want to make sure is that this is all the way to the top, this rack. You'll notice over here there's different levels to the stove. You can have it all the way down here. Like maybe you want to broil a steak in your oven or something, and you want it to high heat sear on the bottom. I like to keep mine up here on the top one. Not very often do I move it down, only if I'm cooking something very large and I need that extra space up top. 99% of the time it's right here on that top shelf. Now, the hardest part about a propane oven is getting it lit. Basically, you have your ignition switch, and then you have your knob, and you're going to put it on pilot, and you push in at the same time that you spark your ignition. If you look underneath here, you can kind of see that blue light. That's your spark. And you push in your gas in at the same time, and you hit that spark. That's what's going to light your stove. You can see that's lit now. One of the tricks here is when you push on your pilot light, you're going to put the gas on. So you're going to push this into pilot and push it in. And then you're going to hit the sparker. What I like to do is go ahead and turn it past the pilot light. I like to turn it to about 300 or so. That just lets a little bit of gas out into the oven. And then when you put it back to pilot and hit your ignition, it lights a little faster and easier. So this didn't take a whole lot of time to get lit, maybe 15 seconds or so. It's not a big deal. Okay, let's make some biscuits. Got some nonstick vegetable oil here. I'm just gonna do a real light coating in there. I'm just gonna make some Grands biscuits. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the oven. Now, another trick is this says heat oven to 375 for 350 for a non-stick cookie sheet. Well, I've got a non-stick pan here. It's not on a cookie sheet. I'm going to do about a little under 350. And the reason why is because the propane is going to be a little bit hotter than your regular oven. Especially if you have a convection oven, one of those ones with the fan in the back that rotates all the air around. We don't have that here. I'm going to control the heat a little bit more than I would at home, and that's going to help prevent any burning that might happen. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check this a lot. I'm going to be looking at this every few minutes to make sure it's okay. I'll let it go for the first 5. Let's see, it says to cook it for 11 to 15 minutes. I'm going to let it go for about 9 minutes, and then I'm going to start checking it pretty often to make sure they're okay. Other things I've done in the past is I've gone in and I've flipped them over. Remember, the heat's coming up from the bottom. You're getting even browning on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick these in the oven. I'm going to wait for about 9 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and start some sausage gravy, I think. Okay. Okay, so here's the ingredients for my sausage gravy. I've got sausage. I like the sage flavor. If you prefer something different or you want something spicy, go ahead and get the mild Italian. It's totally fine. Whatever sausage you want to use. I just prefer this flavor. Chicken concentrate. A little squirt goes a long way. So I think this says, let's see, 4 teaspoons into 1 cup of hot water is 1 cup of bone broth. So it doesn't take a whole lot. Little squirt of this is going to give you a lot of flavor. I also like to add just a little bit of butter. I'll talk about that later as I'm cooking it. And then, of course, flour to thicken. And then milk for your gravy. So I'm going to go ahead and bust the sausage open. I don't know how your mama did it. This is how mine did. Okay, well, you can see my biscuits are starting to rise, but they're not brown yet, so I'm going to go ahead and pop them back in the oven. Okay, so I've got my sausages pretty much cooked through. My goal is to always make it taste like Bob Evans, and I think I've pretty much nailed it. One of the secrets is to keep browning your meat. You want your meat to get brown. You don't want it just cooked through. So this is looking a little anemic. I'm going to go ahead and just keep cooking this for a few minutes. And I'm going to help it along by adding a little butter. Butter is also going to help to make the gravy. Once your butter starts to get nice and brown, and your meat starts to look a little more brown and less anemic, you can put your other seasonings in. Yeah, this ain't health food, folks. Seriously, there's not a whole lot you can do to this to make it healthy. You know, another great thing about propane ovens and campers, heats the camper up pretty good. But by the time we get our water heated up for coffee and get some breakfast made, it's toasty in here. So sometimes when we're boondocking, we just fire up the propane oven and crack the door a little bit. It gets nice and toasty in here real quick. Okay, now you're going to start to see this magic is happening. I'm starting to see all these bubbles coming up around the meat. That's frying the meat. The butter's going to start getting nutty. Now I'm going to put in my chicken broth concentrate. Not a whole lot. I'd say maybe a couple teaspoons, teaspoon and a half max. You don't need a whole lot more than that. This is just to give it a little bit of chicken broth flavor. And you'll also see that that helps to give it that brown color too. Oh boy, this is getting good now. Oh, I smell the chicken stock. The color's getting nice. See how that just turned all of a sudden? Yeah. Looking good, but they're still not quite done. Put them back in. Here's another tip for you. On your flour. This is just all-purpose flour. I don't know that it makes a difference for this recipe what kind of flour you use, but I just carry all-purpose in the camper. 1, 2, 3. I do about 4 heaping teaspoonsful of flour. You want to cook this If you were to put the milk in there now, it would taste like raw flour. And that, my friend, is nasty. So don't do that, okay? You want to stir this around and you want to cook it. That's going to take on a nice nutty flavor too. And you'll get some bits that stick to the bottom. That's alright. Just keep scraping them up. When we put the milk in, it'll get rid of all that. And once all the flour's mixed in, then make sure you don't have any lumps in there. Smash all your lumps out. Now at this point, if your biscuits aren't quite done yet, turn your heat off on this, finish your biscuits, pull your biscuits out of the oven, and when your biscuits are finished, then thicken your sauce. It's important to have this hot and ready to serve as soon as it's the thickness that you want it. If it does get a little too thick, just add a little more milk and stir it back in. My biscuits aren't quite done yet. So I'm just going to turn that off, and then I'm going to wait for my biscuits to finish. Okay, y'all, my biscuits are done. Nice and brown. You can tell they're cooked all the way through. You got nice color on the bottom. Not burnt. See that? Perfect. So now that those are done, I'm just going to set those back here. They'll stay warm because the heat's coming up from the oven here. So they'll stay nice and warm back there while I finish up my gravy. Now you can see there's no action going on here now. It's cooled off enough. It's not bubbling anymore. That's not good. I need to bring that back up to temp. Because we are going to want this thing to be hot so that it thickens. But look at that nice color. See how it's not gray anymore? It's nice and brown. That's where the color is going to come from. The color and the flavor. So that's starting to get hot again. Use whatever kind of milk you want. I've used skim milk. I've used whole milk. Christmas, sometimes I use half and half, so whatever. Now the secret to this is just a little bit at a time. Pour in a little bit, mix it around. The first bit you pour in is going to thicken it up really fast. Go ahead and pour in some more. And get that mixed in. You see that's already starting to thicken. Go ahead and pour in some more. So yummy. My husband just loves sausage gravy. Well, that's pretty thick, but I'm going to go ahead and make I want to have leftovers, so I don't have to make breakfast in the morning. Okay, I think that will be enough. That's probably a couple cups of milk I put in there. Okay. That's almost to the consistency that I want it. Almost. Oh yeah, here it comes. Oh yeah, boy. Oh, I forgot to put pepper in. What the heck, man? Usually I put the pepper in when the meat's cooking. Totally forgot. But you gotta have a little black pepper in there. If you don't like it, just skip it. I'll turn my heat off because I don't want it to globulate on me. And you can add more at the table. I'm not a huge pepper fan, but this is one thing I like pepper in. Okay. And that, my friends, is good eating right there. Okay. Well, if you like what I'm doing so far, please hit the subscribe button and ring that little bell to get notifications when I post new videos. I'm going to try to focus on recipes that you can make in 1, maybe 2 pans and easily do in a camper. I'm going to do some Instant Pot things and some crock pot things. And with it winding down this season, you're probably going to see me at my home kitchen, but I'm going to keep talking about camper van cooking and how to make gourmet camp cuisine. Okay, y'all, I'll see you later. Bye. What do you think, babe?
Looks pretty good.
Is it your favoriteest ever?
Guess I better leave some for you, huh?
Happy boy. Yeah, that was supposed to be enough for tomorrow, too.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, we didn't eat much dinner last night. We had big salads for lunch, so we weren't hungry for dinner. Okay, we're going to enjoy.